In today's tutorial, we're going to explore 3 different ways you can add texture to elevate your work and add depth and character to your patterns in Procreate. The first way to incorporate texture is by using a textured brush. A textured brush differs from a smooth monoline brush and will often have a rough outer edge, a grainy finish or a flecked quality that adds a more organic feel to your artwork. This particular brush is from my free brush pack, which I'll leave linked below. When inking with a textured brush, be sure to fill larger sections manually rather than using Procreate's Colour Fill tool. The Fill tool will replace the texture with a solid colour, which means you'll lose the textured effect of the brush. The new Procreate brush library also includes a wide range of textured brushes to experiment with. I particularly like some of the brushes in the charcoal section, which produce a beautiful artistic texture. Sometimes it can be hard to remember which brush you've been using when you come back to work on a pattern, so I often create a new layer on my canvas and write the brush name on so I don't forget. It's easy just to hide this layer from view while you're working on your pattern, and it will be there to remind you when you come back to it. The second way to incorporate texture is to add texture using a clipping mask over the motifs in your pattern before you've made the repeat. For this one, I'm using a different type of textured brush. This is a woven textured brush that is also available in my free brush pack. You can see I have my whole pattern on one layer, and I am going to create a new layer over the top. Tap it and select Clipping Mask. Now everything I draw on this layer will only show up on the layer below. You can experiment with different colours by tapping this layer and selecting Alpha Lock. Then select a new colour and tap Fill Layer. You can also change how strong the texture is by changing the opacity with the slider, or you can even cycle through the blend modes here to see if there are any effects you like the look of. Once you're ready to make the repeat, you can merge the layers together and make the repeat as normal. The third way to add texture to your pattern, and this is by far the simplest and my personal favourite, is to use a seamless texture overlay. A seamless texture overlay is a layer of texture that is already in repeat. All you need to do is to add it to your completed pattern for instant texture and depth. I'll be demonstrating this technique using some overlays from my Seamless Texture Overlays pack, which I'll link below. You can see here my finished pattern, and I've made sure that everything is on one layer, apart from the background colour, which is on its own separate layer. Now I can go ahead and choose an overlay, and you can see I've saved them to my camera roll for easy access. I'm going to choose a linen overlay for this pattern, and when it imports it will look something like this to start with. I'm going to place it above my background layer to start, and I'm going to choose a colour which is slightly darker than my background colour. Now tap the layer and select Alpha Lock and then Fill Layer. You can adjust the opacity of the overlay to get the effect you want. Now if you also want the texture to come out on the foreground layer, duplicate the texture layer and move it above the foreground motifs. Tap the layer and select Clipping Mask, and then you can change the colour and opacity. If you wanted to try a totally different look for this pattern, you could import the block print overlay and place it like we did before above the background layer and separately above the foreground layer. You could also add to the block print effect by adding a speckled texture to the background layer too. As these texture overlays have already been made seamless, you don't need to worry about there being broken lines when this is repeated. The texture will repeat seamlessly. I hope this tutorial has inspired you to try a new way of adding texture to your patterns in Procreate. I'll put the links for my free brush pack and texture overlays below, and I can't wait to see what you create.